Cheers. Merry Christmas, everybody. Oh, yeah. Hope everybody had a good day today, yesterday, whenever you're watching this. Just wanted to talk to myself in a room surrounded by comics looking at a camera, and I figured, hey, let's do that live. Just talk about a couple of books I'm excited to read. Got a few things today, which I'm very, very thankful for. We had a really great day. It's actually beautiful out here in Winnipeg. Temperature has started to drop, which is kind of nice because now it feels like Christmas. We had a huge dump of snow the other day, which is fantastic. Because we did the patio outside, we started making a pile at one end of the patio that leads kind of the side, the street side. So we started making a snow hill for our daughter and one of the neighbor kids that they can now toboggan down. It's pretty small at this point, but as the winter kind of proceeds, we'll see if we can get that sucker pretty high. And because there's quite a long run for them to go before they get to the garage. Probably, I don't know, 30-ish feet or so, 30 or 40 feet. So that's kind of nice for them to have a little slide in the side of the yard. But it was a really great day. It's my son's birthday today as well, too. So that was really nice. Yeah, I mean, it's just Christmas has kind of turned into a really nice kind of chill event for us. We don't do any huge meals. We're just that's not something that we've done for quite a long time. So everything is just manageable, and we're not left with 6 months of turkey leftovers, because honestly, I'm not the craziest about turkey. So we had some lamb tonight, and it was fantastic because it's the time of year where I get to have some mint jelly as well. And look at that. Do I have glasses? Yes, I do, right here. Hey, good, right in front of my face. So just a couple of things to talk to you about. I started reading this with my daughter. We read the first issue of The Legend of Wonder Woman. And it was a lot of fun. Really, really great fun. She sat on my lap down here, and we went through it. And she's like, "Is that the whole story, or is there more?" I said, "No, there's 3 more issues." So she's invested. She thought it was pretty great. And Trina's artwork is just so good. So that's a really nice run. I'm glad that I finally have all 4 of those issues. Just before the holidays, I guess it was Christmas Eve. Did we? Yeah, I think we got mail the 24th. So maybe it was no, it couldn't have been yesterday. A couple of days ago. This came in the mail from Japan, something that I ordered a little while ago. There was an interview with this guy, Cato David Hopkins, on the Noise Extra podcast. So this is Rumors of Noizu, and it covers the history from about the 50s to, when did that first Hydrokaiden album come out? The 80s, the early 80s. And it talks about the experimental music scene and what things were like in the avant-garde in Japan leading up to what becomes the noise genre. So right now I'm just 20 pages in, because every single page they're kind of talking right now about some composers that are kind of using musique concrète types of styles in their compositions. And they're doing some soundtracks for experimental films, but also for stuff that was a little bigger budget. One of the movies, which took me by surprise, one of my favorite Criterion releases is this movie called Kwaidan. Really phenomenal movie with 4 short ghost stories in it. And the soundtrack, I guess, the music, the kind of atmosphere and the Foley and things, the way that the sound is utilized in those shorts is great. And they talk about one of those guys here. So as I'm reading, I'm pausing to go and listen to some of the music, be it on YouTube or grabbing it from SoulSeek just to have a listen to what these things sound like. I'll probably end up doing a radio show. So weekly I have Dead Air on 101.5 UMFM here in Winnipeg on University of Manitoba station. Probably in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe. I'm shooting for. I'll probably end up doing a full hour where I kind of talk about this book, and we'll go through some of the music on that show. I'll kind of play some stuff leading up to that Haulidayzzzzz album, which again is kind of like their marker for when that album was released. That's kind of the road mark of noise is now a thing. It's now a genre. There's people that are doing this, and this is now ingrained in our music culture or our musical language. So this is a really, really great book straight from Japan. How many pages here? Just 220 pages. Minimal photos. You get some images in, but mostly just text talking about the history of the experimental music scene. And like I said, covering a lot of things, getting into some jazz. But, you know, this first part definitely talks about like the futurists and what they brought to music. There's a couple of books, one that I ordered for myself already that they quote from Luigi Russolo from a book called The Art of Noises, from kind of like his treatise, his, I'm blanking on the proper word, but kind of his idea of noise. And a couple of the things that stood out to me in this is the idea of, especially when they were using kind of musique concrète and noise elements in kind of like these orchestral pieces. There's a class element here too. The idea of using sounds from real life, especially working class life, to penetrate the genteel environment of the concert hall definitely has an air of revolution about it, though similarly forcing the cultural elites to look at the masses had been part of the naturalist literary movement for at least a generation. So that idea of using kind of these everyday sounds from some people's kind of working lives and then bringing it into a forum where these people are getting dressed up to go and listen to some music and then being confronted with these. I really like that idea, and it's something that I never really thought of. But all these Russolo quotes at the beginning of every chapter are just great. So I bought that book. The manifesto is the word I'm looking for. And apparently it has, I think it's 3 or 4 different people's manifestos from the early 1900s about kind of noise and using these kind of more confrontational sounds as music. So that's a cool read so far. It's going to be great. On Marketplace, there was a few things that popped up recently, and this one I had to jump on. I believe it was 35 Canadian is what I paid for all 4 of these volumes. The Kayfabe guys have talked about it. Adam, I think Adam has some of these as well too. Dr. Monkeybot has some of these. So this is Tezuka Urasawa, his Pluto, based on a story from Astro Boy. So I got the first 4 volumes, and they look like they've pretty much been unread. So I'm really excited about this. Urasawa is the host of Manben, the show that I've talked about, and the Kayfabe guys have really trumpeted many times in their videos. And like I say, it's highly recommended. It is a phenomenal show. You can find it to watch online with subtitles, and it's really worth it. I strongly urge you to check it out. For the most part, it's artists that I don't know either, and I just find it fascinating because you really sit and see their style and their work ethic. And Urasawa is the host and ends up sitting with the artists. So they place cameras in their space, record them over the course of, I believe it's a week, and then sit with them and look over the footage and then just discuss, you know, why are you doing this technique, or what are you doing here, or what's your strategy, what is your thinking here. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I haven't read the Astro Boy story. I was just talking to Dr. Monkeybot recently, and I think he was saying that it's possibly out of print, that volume, that the story is kind of based off of and expanded on. So there's book 2, 3, and then 4. So I mean, a sweet you know, it's one of those things I couldn't pass it up. I couldn't leave it sitting there online. The guy actually lived in the neighborhood, so it's super easy. You know, he puts the books in the mailbox. I put the money in the mailbox. It's great. Everybody's happy. We walk away. So that's kind of just before Christmas. The things I asked for books this year, basically, you know, and I just had a bit of a list for a few people with just a couple of options on it. They were all from Book Depository. One is still on its way. It just didn't make it here in time, which is totally fantastic because I'm excited to get it. And I don't think I brought down. It's the Sergio Topi, Volume 2. Is it New America? I can't remember what the subtitle is. It's the second volume of that collected Topi work there that's coming to me, which I can't wait to look at. I think it was Joan and Jello recently had been looking at one of those volumes. He had a video or two where he was looking at those volumes. So a couple of the other books. My man, the man of the hour, Thorgal. 2 more volumes of this, so volumes 10 and volume 11. So I'm super excited for this. I'm looking at the first 9 volumes, and every time I sit here, when I look at these shelves, my eyes zero in on the Thorgal. So I'm beyond thrilled to have the next couple of volumes here. I cannot wait to see where this story is going. And then this one, I took a chance. I believe it's a one-shot. And it's 20 years later by Van Ham and as benefits the finest legends, Danny, D-A-N-Y. So a name that I'm not familiar with. His dream would become reality when he created Olivier Rameau with scriptwriter Greg. Yeah, so yeah, this is an espresso. There you go. So it's an espresso, and as I think we've talked about before with that Western, that title Western, when it's the espresso, it's just a one-off story. So there's not a continuing saga. So I'm looking forward to this. I loved Western. I love Thorgal. I love 13. I love his art. So we'll see what they got for us in store. See what they got in store for us their time. One of the nice surprises, a book that wasn't on my list. Oh, hey, here you go. The Collected Topi, Volume 2, North America. I got a little coming attractions with a little note that this is on its way. One of the things that wasn't on the list that's a really nice surprise. It's not a secret. I love Charlie Brown. I love Peanuts. So this was a really nice surprise. The Peanuts book. Just kind of with an intro by Stephen Colbert, just the history of kind of the toys and all the collectibles and things that had come out, Peanuts related throughout the history. And it's beautifully done. DK, a visual history. What is DK? I feel like I know that company, but it's not coming to me what the DK stands for. Anyway. And then some beautiful art and quotes from Schultz. A little bit of history, a little bit of background on Charles Schultz as well. And then just kind of sample of some early strips. And then we finally get into lots of strips. Actually, there's a lot of history, and then we get into some of the toys and that sort of thing. So this looks like it's going to be fun. I think this will be a fun book to dig into. Talking about the different characters and things. So yeah, that was a really nice surprise. Beautifully done book, beautifully put together. Another one, I cannot wait. I'd read the first volume of this. I had the kind of album hardcover of this, and I just never found the other one. So finally, seeing that it was on Book Depository, especially if it's somebody else going to be picking it up for me. I'll go for it because the humanoid stuff isn't that cheap. This is the Collected Bouncer by Jodorowsky and Boucq. Book. Let's go with a book. So I can't wait because I really enjoyed this first volume quite a bit. I recently just traded it away to Greg. So I'm jonesing to see what's in store for me. I've heard really good things about it. And like I said, just dipping my toes in that first part. I'm loving it. I like Jodorowsky for the most part. I really think he's a fascinating human being. A fascinating animal. So we'll see what he has to tell us in this story. So that's really, really nice. And I love this kind of shit is so great. The little sewn in bookmark. And last but certainly not least, something that had been kind of talked about quite a long time ago and had been turned on to, and I just never, another one that I just have always bookmarked and I've just never bit the bullet on it. This is The Weird World of Eerie Publications. Oh, see what it did to that color there? Or was that just my monitor? That was amazing. This is going to be so much fun. I sat for a little while this morning for about 20 minutes or so, just flipping through this book, and it is unbelievable. One of the things, you know, I guess they did a series of posters at one point, which look incredible. Hopefully that's coming up there. It's a bit dark, but, and the other thing that they have, I mean, every single page is an absolute treat, with just insane art and kind of talking about other comics at the time. And I'm assuming other comics they were maybe publishing themselves. They've put together page after page of all of these covers in the book. John DaCosta, I don't know if you watch these videos all the time, but you would love this book because I know you've got a thing for these magazines as well. I can't recommend this enough. This is an absolute piece of eye candy. That's a total treat. Yeah, so I mean, page after page after page. And then it just goes into the history. Russ Works is the guy who first recommended this to me in the comments section of a previous Eerie Publications. Just goes into the history of the artists, of the company, and like I said, just chock full of great fucking imagery. And it really has, again, it's another thing that the kayfabe guys have talked about. And they kind of talk about other things that were coming out at the time, like the Warren stuff. So there's some creepy with some Corbin. It has a real exploitation movie kind of vibe to this whole book, which completely makes sense because a lot of these kind of companies, even the paperback market, you know, I've got a really nice collection of this hardcover book that talks about these pulp paperbacks and looks specifically at the cover art. And it has the very similar feel to that they were putting a lot of these imageries on because the imagery on the covers, because they knew that it was going to attract people in, even though the interiors didn't reflect these kind of psychedelic, colorful front covers. So great, man. So great. And I guess looking at some of the other titles. So, I mean, it's classic exploitation, just done in horror comic, the comic world. So that's going to be an absolute blast. Yeah, and then talking about, of course, Seduction of the Innocent and the pre-code horror and gains and stuff like that. You got to give some context for how outrageous and offensive and life-destroying this stuff was going to be. So super, super, super excited about these books. That's a fantastic one. And I mean, that's about it. And then the rest was just watching the kids enjoy their stuff and having a nice meal and just hanging out. A really, really good day. Oh, the last thing to talk about, I'd spoken about them before. I finished City of Thieves now. It took me 3 plays, but I finally defeated the book. And it was, like I said the last time, an absolute blast. It was so much fun. The fact that there wasn't like a half an hour worth of setup. So I've still got all the sheets. I did a different sheet for each of the attempts and kind of kept track. So one of the things that I decided to do was I rolled the stats. I had pretty good stats for the first adventure. I just subtracted 1 from each of those numbers for the next adventure. And then for the last one, I subtracted 1 again, just to kind of, since I had mapped out a lot of the space, I figured let's kind of give myself a little bit of challenge that way. And then created this, I don't know, I love it. I think it's a beautiful looking map. So along the side here is just this is the final kind of stage where you're looking for the final boss in one of these floors. I just basically went all the way up to the roof, poked my head in some doors. There's almost always an option to, do you want to leave the room? You kind of get a glimpse of what's going on and you can get the hell out of there. Made it to the roof, saved this little guy who was living in a glass jar. And then he told me where the big boss was, went back down, and I had all my bits and I kicked his ass, smoked his ass. A total blast. Like I said, the minimal buy-in that you need to sit down and play these books makes it even more worthwhile. So I've queued up the next one. I found online, you can find the adventure sheets for pretty much every single one of these books. So I'm just saving those files and then printing them off one at a time. So it's the exact sheet that's in here. So this is Dead of Night. The demon lord Muir seeks revenge. You are renowned throughout the land as a demon stalker, waging war against the creatures of chaos. More than once you have thwarted the demon lord's evil schemes, but now Muir has discovered a cunning way of exacting his revenge. There is no alternative. You must confront and destroy the demon lord, for the whole of the free world is threatened. So, yeah. I'm telling you, if you find these, if you're into gaming whatsoever, if you like the RPG kind of thing, when things open up, keep your eyes out in the thrift shops, Amazons, if you can. The eBays, I've been looking recently on eBay just to kind of get an idea. You can find some deals there for sure, but honestly, I found these in a Value Village. I found them in a Salvation Army. I didn't pay more than $2 for any of these books. I've got about, 8 or 10 of them that I bought for my son. Keep your eyes out, and if you see one, just grab it. Doesn't matter what it is, just grab it and give it a shot. A lot of fun. That's it. Thanks very much, everybody. I hope everybody had a good holiday, and we'll talk to you